So we have build a boat, learn to sail, and the third captain's challenge is to plot a course. So having a ship is not enough to be a captain. Knowing how to sail just makes you a mariner. It just means that you're competent and seaworthy. To be a captain, you need to be able to plot a course, which basically means that you have the authority to dictate where you go and how you get there. And that authority needs to be respected and responded to by everyone on board, or else you are not the captain. Whoever is on board who does have that authority is the captain, okay? So this is also the pretext for the journey. Life is very hard, as many of you already know, and it's bounded on both sides with pain. And to leave the safety of the harbor is an inherent risk. Not all sailors who go out in the morning come back at night. So why go through the trouble? Why take the risk? Why suffer the pain? You need a personally compelling reason to do so, or else you'll never leave the harbor. So nominating that destination is the pretext for the journey. It also makes it easier to realign yourself once you inevitably get blown off course because of the tides and the weather and unexpected events that happen. You need that North Star to sail by. Otherwise, when you're out on the trackless sea, every direction looks good. And in that state, no port is favorable, okay? So those are the three captain's challenges. Build a boat, learn to sail, plot a course. If you do those three things, congratulations, you are a captain. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm riffing then. So this is in conjunction. On the other hand, there's the passengers. Now, passengers don't need to do anything to be passengers because everyone's a passenger by default. However, they do have three prerogatives. I call them prerogatives because captains have to do the things that I just described to become captains. Passengers don't have to do these things, but they kind of have the right to do them if they so choose. And as we'll see, these prerogatives actually dovetail very nicely with the captain's challenges. It's like every challenge that the captain has to overcome is actually a response to one of the prerogatives of a passenger. And what are the three prerogatives? They are to inspect the ship, test the captain, and examine the itinerary. That's what all passengers get to do. They get to inspect the ship, test the captain, and examine the itinerary. So let's talk about this, because most of you guys, I'm going to assume in this room, are captains, and you're looking to bring passengers on board. So your ability to do that is really your ability to reassure passengers on these three prerogatives, okay? And if you're having trouble attracting passengers onto your ship, there are solutions. You just need to find at what point in the funnel you're having difficulty, and I can teach you how to move past that. So here's the interesting thing, is that a lot of the inspection of a ship happens way before the passenger gets on the ship. Remember, the passengers are walking around the dock, right? So the very first thing that a passenger is going to notice is the vessel. This looms large. It's way bigger than the captain. And there are big three-masted ships, and there are submarines, and there are ferry boats. There's all kinds of ships in the harbor. And the first litmus test for a passenger is, does that ship look seaworthy? Does that ship look comfortable? Does that ship look interesting or exciting to board? And if not, that passenger is just going to keep walking, okay? Now, here's the other thing, is passengers don't have unlimited time. They have places they want to go. So they actually can't really examine thoroughly every ship in the port, right? So one of the proxies that they use to test the seaworthiness of the ship is the size of the crowd in front of any given boat. This is not a guarantee that that's a good ship, but basically the thinking is, well, I don't really have time to do due diligence, but someone in that crowd must have had the time, which is not necessarily true. And since there's so many people in front, that must be a boat worth checking out. So first they examine the vessel, then they examine the size of the crowd in front of the ship. A ship that looks great but has nobody in front of It's fishy, isn't it? It's like, why isn't anybody lining up for that fantastic looking ship? It's suspicious. That's just how it is, right? And then once they get close to the crowd, because they're like, I like this ship and there's a crowd, so there must be something here, they begin to listen to the captain. They look at him. They listen to his words and his tone. And then, if they like what they hear and they like what they see, they kind of make their presence known. And then there might be an interaction with the captain, and then the passenger eventually gets to board the ship and kick the proverbial tires and take a look under the hood to make sure everything is okay. But my point is that the vast majority of the inspection occurs before the passenger gets on the ship and before the captain is even aware that the passenger is there. Like, the passenger will only make the presence known once all those other tests are passed, right? So if captains are having trouble attracting passengers on board, you have to figure out at what stage of the funnel it is. It could be they don't like your ship. Like, it's not interesting or comfortable in terms of its optics. So if that's the case, you need to invest in your lifestyle. And that doesn't necessarily, like I said earlier, mean make more money, though, of course, who wouldn't want more money? It's better to have it than not. It means you have to kind of cultivate an emotionally compelling lifestyle and to be able to communicate that in a clear and understandable way to your audience. This is like business. One of the amazing things about women in relationships is that if it works in business, it typically works with women, okay? Because they're actually the same enterprise. Both business and relationships are about trying to procure value from other people, okay? It's a game of procuring value. Relationships are the medium in which value is transacted. That's my fundamental thesis for the book. We need relationships because we need things from other people. And if we can, but they're also, so people are a opportunity because you might have things that I want, but you're also a risk and a threat because you might not give them to me. So we have to learn how to navigate that. And the best way that we've come up with is basically bartering, is people come into relationships to exchange unequal things of comparable value. Unequal things of comparable value. I'm not going to give you what you have, you already have it. That's why they're unequal, but they have to have comparable valuations, right? So that happens in business. That's how you form strategic partnerships. You can do something that I can't, and what you can do will add value to my business and vice versa. The same is true for relationships. So you have to provide a value proposition. So the second thing, if you're having trouble attracting passengers, it could be that you need a crowd in front of your boat, right? The easiest way, I made a face because it's not easy, but it's easier than most things, all things being equal. The easiest way to do this is to be visibly competent. Visibly competent. So one of the reasons why women post their bodies on Instagram is because women maintain optionality by being visibly attractive. Because all things being equal, men are going to respond to cues of attractiveness, reproductive fertility, youth, etc. And so if she's publishing that, she's going to be generating a funnel, a constant stream of attention towards her. Men can't really do that. Men can't really do that. The way that men do that is by being visibly competent. If you do something well, you need to be sure that the rest of the world understands that you do that. And the fact of the matter is, it's never been easier in the history of the world to be able to do that because of social media. It's not easy. It can take a few years, but all things being equal, we live in an opportunity where you could tell the whole world about the thing that you do better than anybody else from your living room without leaving your house. It's amazing. The power and the opportunity of social media is absolutely incredible. So men generally need some sort of social media presence. I think YouTube is often a better vessel for men than Instagram, which tends to be more visible. And it also doesn't have to be geared towards women. If 1,000 men are looking at you and supporting you and praising you, then you have that kind of social validation that at least among those 1,000, you're kind of like that contextual alpha. There are people looking up to you, which means that all things being equal, a woman is more likely to see that man as high value relative to the men in his milieu, okay? So find a way to become visibly competent and let the world know what you're good at. And finally, if somebody gets close and they don't make their presence known to the captain, there could be issues with the captain's personal presentation. So that has to do with fitness, that has to do with fashion, and that has to do with the ability to communicate with charm and charisma. A lot of guys blow their chances by opening their mouths. It takes a long time to learn how to talk, especially how to learn how to talk to women. It requires a little bit more effort. It's not as straightforward and direct as talking to men. So you might want to consider examining at what stage in the funnel are you likely experiencing difficulties, because that will suggest the solution to overcome that difficulty.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.